A question a monk asked me, and I never forgot. Have you ever wondered what happens after death? Does our consciousness simply disappear, or are we reborn in a new form, in a new body, following an infinite cycle of lives? According to Buddhism, the answer to this question can completely transform the way we live, love, and even suffer. It's estimated that more than 500 million people worldwide, about 7% of the global population, follow Buddhism, a philosophy that sees reincarnation not as a myth, but as one of the fundamental laws of existence. But is this idea truly real? Or is it just another belief, nurtured by centuries of tradition? In this video, you'll discover what Buddhism really teaches about reincarnation, and no, it's not what most people think. The evidence that philosophy and even modern science provide about rebirth. How this perspective can transform your life, and the path to finally free yourself from the cycle of reincarnations. So take a moment, like this video, share it with someone who needs to reflect on life and death, and subscribe to the channel, because here you'll always find profound, transformative content based on ancient wisdom. Now take a deep breath, open your mind, and let's begin. What is reincarnation? The Buddhist perspective beyond common beliefs. When we talk about reincarnation, the image that usually comes to mind is that of a soul, which after death, leaves the body and inhabits another, perhaps as a human again, perhaps as an animal, or even a plant. This concept is very common in the West, but that's not exactly how Buddhism understands reincarnation. In Buddhism, there is no immutable soul that transmigrates from one body to another. What exists is a continuous flow of consciousness, which transforms at every moment, shaped by our actions, thoughts, and intentions. In other words, by karma. Picture one candle lighting another. The second flame exists because of the first, but it's not the same flame. Similarly, a new life arises as a result of past actions, but it's neither a copy nor a transfer of a fixed entity. This continuous cycle is known as samsara, the cycle of birth and death that repeats indefinitely, until we achieve spiritual liberation. Each rebirth is not a punishment, but rather an opportunity to learn, evolve, and move closer to enlightenment. Interestingly, this Buddhist view is more akin to a natural law than to a religious belief. The Buddha did not ask for blind faith in reincarnation. He encouraged each person to investigate reality for themselves, through meditation and ethical practice. This profound concept breaks away from the simplistic idea of life after death and invites us to reflect. Are we merely this body, or are we the result of countless causes and conditions interwoven over a much longer time than we can imagine? Myth or truth? The philosophical and scientific evidence faced with such a profound concept as reincarnation, the inevitable question arises: is it truth, or merely a myth nurtured by ancient traditions? For Buddhism, reincarnation is not a dogma, but a description of reality based on direct observation. According to ancient texts, the Buddha himself recalled all of his past lives upon attaining enlightenment. He taught that rebirth is a natural consequence of karma, and that even if we cannot clearly see this process, its effects are present in our tendencies, impulses, and conditioning. But what about science? What does it say about this? Although it is a controversial topic, there are serious studies investigating claims of possible past lives. One of the most famous is the work of Dr. Ian Stevenson, a professor of psychiatry at the University of Virginia, who studied more than 2,500 cases of children who claimed to remember previous lives, often with verifiable details, such as names, locations, and even matching birthmarks or scars. While these reports do not constitute definitive proof according to traditional scientific standards, they are considered by many researchers as strong indications that consciousness may, in some way, transcend the death of the physical body. Moreover, within Buddhist philosophy, it is not simply a matter of believing or disbelieving, but of understanding reincarnation as an explanatory model for the functioning of life, suffering, and the potential for spiritual evolution. Thus, the question may not be whether reincarnation is a fact in the strictest scientific sense, but rather, does this idea help us live more consciously, ethically, and compassionately? And you? What do you think, myth or truth? Leave your opinion in the comments. It can greatly enrich this discussion. How reincarnation influences your life. The practical impact of this belief. It may seem that talking about reincarnation is just a philosophical curiosity, but in truth, this idea has a profound and practical impact on how we live. In Buddhism, believing in rebirth does not serve to console, but rather to hold us accountable. Every action you take, whether a thought, a word, or a gesture, leaves a mark on the flow of consciousness, shaping future experiences, in this life or future ones. This perspective leads to a very strong sense of ethical responsibility, knowing that our actions do not end in this life. We are invited to act with more compassion, wisdom, and mindfulness. It's not about fearing punishment after death, but about understanding that everything we do resonates beyond ourselves, affecting the world and future existences. For example, when we choose to cultivate anger, we feed tendencies that may accompany us life after life, generating suffering. On the other hand, by cultivating generosity, patience, and compassion, we create conditions for more harmonious rebirths and a fuller present life. This view also profoundly transforms how we deal with suffering and death. Buddhism teaches that death is not the end, but a natural passage, and that suffering, no matter how painful, is part of a greater process of learning and evolution. By understanding reincarnation as a cycle conditioned by karma, many people report a reduction in anxiety and fear of death, along with a stronger commitment to spiritual practices aimed at purifying and liberating the mind. And have you ever stopped to think about how your actions today might influence not only your present, but also your future, perhaps even in another life? Leave a comment. What attitude would you like to change today to improve your spiritual journey? How to break free from the cycle of reincarnations. The path to liberation. If reincarnation is an inevitable cycle conditioned by our actions, an essential question arises. Is it possible to break free from this cycle? For Buddhism, the answer is yes, and this is precisely the ultimate goal of spiritual practice: the liberation from samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. This liberation is known as nirvana, a state of complete freedom, where suffering and conditioning cease entirely. But how do we get there? The Buddha himself left a precise map for those who wish to follow this path, the Noble Eightfold Path, composed of 8 practices that, when cultivated together, lead to liberation. They are: right understanding, comprehending the 4 noble truths about suffering and its cessation; right intention, cultivating thoughts of renunciation, kindness, and nonviolence; right speech, avoiding lies, harsh words, or frivolous talk; right action, behaving ethically, avoiding harm to other beings; right livelihood, seeking a means of living that causes no harm to others; right effort, striving to abandon harmful mental states and cultivate beneficial ones; right mindfulness, maintaining awareness and presence in the moment; right concentration, developing meditation to achieve deep states of calm and insight. By following this path, the practitioner gradually purifies the mind, overcoming attachment, aversion, and ignorance, the 3 roots of suffering, until finally, the cycle of rebirth comes to an end. But beware, the quest for liberation is not an escape from life, but an invitation to live it with more awareness, compassion, and wisdom. It is a challenging journey but profoundly transformative. And are you willing to begin this journey of self-knowledge and liberation? If so, write in the comments, "I want to evolve." Your message may inspire others to take this important step. As we've seen, reincarnation in Buddhism is not a naive myth, nor a blind belief, but a profound view of the nature of existence, inviting us to live with more responsibility, awareness, and compassion. You've learned that, in Buddhism, reincarnation is understood as a continuous flow of consciousness, conditioned by karma. There are reports and scientific investigations that fuel this debate, but above all, it is an idea that encourages us to evolve spiritually. Believing in reincarnation can transform how you act, think, and relate to the world. And finally, that there is a clear and accessible path for those who wish to break free from this cycle, the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, an invitation. From today onwards, why not observe your actions and intentions more carefully? Small changes in the present can generate profound impacts in the future, in this or future existences. If this video made sense to you, leave a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribe to the channel to not miss upcoming content about spirituality, health, and well-being. And tell me in the comments, do you believe in reincarnation? Your opinion is very important and can help others reflect on this essential topic. Remember, transformation begins now, at this very moment, with a simple choice. See you in the next video.